Hi everyone. So today I'm going to start I was going to say a restoration project, but it's actually going to be an upcycling project. I wouldn't go as far as saying something's being restored. I think it's just a good old-fashioned upcycle. So yeah, so I've got this old kind of toy box that my sister kind of gave me. So I partially started to dismantle it here. I'll give you some close-ups in a bit. So yeah, so there's a fair bit of sanding to 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 happen. There's a couple of things here that it's kind of like glued pretty bad. You can probably start to see that a little bit there, bit of a crack. So I quite like these projects. They're probably my favourite. If I'm perfectly honest, I love restoration work. Um, all just down to my love of the repair shop. So yeah, so I love that. Even though this is kind of a bit of an upcycle, I'm not restoring it for anyone or anything. It's just restore it, repair it a little bit, and then give it a lick of paint or some finish, and then just sand it on. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be focusing on this next project. So I'll give you some close-ups, and then we'll just see what needs to be done. All right, so that's the front of it. As you can see, you've got some pretty bad scuffing. It's just from use. Nothing much more than that. So that's the front, and then over here, yeah, this lid, it looks a bit nasty. A nasty crack in it. Yeah, there's this nasty crack all the way down, and goes all the way through. So I think mount that down, break it apart as gently as possible, and then clamp it back together nice and neat, and then look at filling in any gaps, and then I think I'm just going to get some new hinges, I think. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what people have done here, whether it's just to like maybe hold it together. I don't know, I'm not sure. So yeah, so that's that bit. The inside isn't too bad. I think it just needs a bit of a clean, if I'm honest. You've got drops of glue and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of in general, don't think it's actually too bad. Just a bit of a clean, good sand. There's a couple of spots just around there that might need a little bit more attention. But yeah, let's have a look this side, see what we've got. Yeah, a couple of areas, but yeah, nothing, bit of sanding and won't fix. So not overly. Yeah, it shouldn't be. I think the main box, I think, is all right. Less work. I think it's just going to be the lid. Lid's going to be the main area of focus. I've no idea what finish I'm going to put on yet. Whether I'm going to paint it. It could be like a two-tone thing, possibly. But my wife is pretty good with that sort of stuff, so we'll see what she thinks. But yeah, I think I'm going to start on mounting that glue over on that lid. I think that's first. Yeah, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of address this crack here that's kind of splitting lengthwise down down the lid. So I think I'm going to try and kind of melt this glue down a little bit and try and prise it apart ever so slowly. I think that's my first aim. So I'm just going to use it. I've got this heat gun here. I've had it for a while. It's kind of okay, does the job. Yeah, just got it from Amazon, and then yeah, just kind of slowly apply some heat at some distance. I'm not going to get too close because obviously don't want to burn the wood in any way. Put it on a fairly low setting, and then yeah, hopefully it'll start to melt, and see if I can start to slowly prise it apart. So let's get on with that. So I started on a medium setting on the heat gun, so I didn't burn the wood too much. There were a few burn marks, as you can see, but I wasn't overly concerned about that. The fact it was going to be sanded and painted anyway. As you can see, I've used a carbide scraper to help with the bigger blobs of glue. Then I decided to clamp the piece and continue with the heat gun, and then use a Stanley knife just to help picking away at the glue as it was melting, and then apply a bit of force, as you can see here, to help prise it apart. Just slowly but surely. It was quite a laborious process, really. I was trying to be as careful as possible not to damage a piece too much with the Stanley knife, and leaning on it whilst I'm going. And after a little while, it eventually comes away. It was around this point that I thought I might need to cut out this crack and replace it. It was just too much of a mess to glue back together. Probably took a little bit longer than I thought. I was about halfway through and contemplated stopping, and I wasn't sure whether the heat gun was maybe actually a little bit too hot. I think in a couple of places there's a couple of scorch marks, but nothing that a bit of, well, possibly sanding and then finish won't hide, because there's a few scrape marks, as you can see. There's going to be lots of filling on this piece anyway. So yeah, so I think now that I've finally managed to get it kind of prized apart, I'm gonna maybe just get a little bit of acetone and just apply the acetone and just try and scrape off some of this excess. I'm probably not. Yeah, I'll try and get rid of most. I guess it's probably just where it's the glue was not quite melted, and then you end up with kind of parts kind of like just snapping off, like here. Again, I'm not overly fussed. There would have been kind of a need for filling anyway, so it's done a relatively kind of decent job. So yeah, so I'll get some acetone and try and get some of the excess off. I think that'll be the next thing. If I haven't got acetone, I'll just use some of the wife's nail polish remover. That's sometimes pretty good. So, and then just give it, I don't know, just take off some of these kind of excess pieces kind of over here, and then yeah, just give it a bit of just like a light sand, just so I've got maybe a slightly better join when I join them together. But that won't be until later, because I'll give everything a good sanding first before I do that. So well, I'm not sure. I could possibly kind of glue it all together, and then I could do the sanding after. But we'll see. But yeah, finally got there. So yeah, so next thing I'm gonna try and do, I'm just gonna get a bit of acetone, just stuff again, just got from Amazon, and then just apply. Just use one of these kind of dispensers and just get some on like a cotton bud. and then just apply it just here, and then just kind of just gently just kind of scrape it off, so I don't do kind of even more damage than what I've done, and it just gets rid of the excess, I think, really. So that's that's my plan for just getting rid of these extra, just the excess glue on this.
I love these little dispensers. They're great for working with small amounts of liquid. Certainly something like acetone, where you don't need great amounts. It's really handy. It's pretty strong stuff, is acetone. I guess it has to be, as it's a main ingredient in removing nail polish and false nails. As you can see, I'm just working slowly but surely along the crack, just removing the excess. And the acetone works really quickly, so I can just scrape the excess glue off with ease.
Right, before anybody mentions it, you might be thinking, so well, if you're going to sand it anyway, why are you kind of taking some of the excess glue off the lid and off the bottom and stuff? It's like, well, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I find it really satisfying. So it's having a bit of a pick. Just, I don't know, just like it. So that's why I did it. I've got a decent amount off. It probably didn't work as well as I thought. Certainly, kind of along the joint. It's not. I'm going to kind of go along with just some sandpaper and just try and get a little bit off and pick out some of the kind of the bits that are all kind of scraggly and stuff, because a lot of it's going to need some filling anyway, just in some of these spots here. So so it was always going to be a bit of a tricky crack to fill, as it were. Haha. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a sand, but just along this join. I'm not going to do anything too fancy, I'm not going to just use a table saw or anything like that just to make a cleaner edge. I'm just going to see how I fare without needing to do that, because if I do that, it's not an even split, and I don't have the skill to kind of put another piece in here and then chisel it down and what have you. I don't have that skill, so I think I'm just going to try and sand it down a little bit, and then just join them and glue them back together, and see how we go. After everything I just said, I've decided to give it a go. I think it's just too much of a mess down this crack. I think it was glued together pretty badly anyway, and it didn't come apart particularly well. So I think I'm just gonna kind of rip a line, probably on the table saw, down both sides, then get some pine or something as close to pine as I can, pop it kind of in here and glue it in here, and then kind of clean it up and see what it looks like. I need to maintain I think it's about 30 mil. I have measured it on the gauge. It's about 30 mil around the sides and the front. It's flush at the back. So yeah, I've not done that before, so I've got no idea what that's going to turn out like. I think before I do that, I think I'm just going to get the rest of the box kind of like sanded down and all cleaned up and ready. So that's that done. So yeah, let's see what that kind of looks like, I guess, once I've done it. Right, so I had a bit of a clean. I quite like using for cleaning, and I've just used elbow grease. Um, it's quite good just for giving it a bit of a once over and just a bit of a clean before I do anything else. I don't always have to do that, or I don't always do that, but I don't know, just I think it just gets rid of some of the gunk and stuff like that that you can sometimes find on these pieces. Right, so I'm gonna now get going on sanding. It's just going to be a bit of a rough sand, really. So I'm just going to get the old DeWalt orbital sander out. Probably go about 180 grit, something like that. Nothing too, nothing too kind of much more or much less than that. I don't want to be taking too much off, so we'll go with a lower grit. But it would just get rid of some of this some of the finish and some of the scuff marks and stuff like that. So yeah, let's do that now. Alrighty, yeah, visitors. Right, I think I've done as much sanding as I'm prepared to do. I think there might be a couple of little spots here or there which I'll tidy up. Just need to get rid of this glue. It's just a couple of little glue spots just in here. I think it's probably where it's just dripped down when it was fixed over for the lid. Yeah, it's not too bad. Actually, I'll drop down to about 120 grit on the sanding. I'm going to do the lid once I've kind of cut this out and kind of replaced it. So I'll sand all that back another time, a bit later in the project. So yeah, on to the next bit. Right, so I'm gonna have a look at the lid. I had broken it kind of into two and hoping I could get like a nice join kind of back to it, but I don't think that's happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, you could see that it's kind of multiple pieces kind of joined together, end jointed together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip through the table saw, kind of, I think it might have to be too wide to get a nice clean cut. And then I'm just going to get this piece, which is a couple of mil thicker, and then rip this down to 2 pieces width, and then glue that back in, and hopefully that'll it'll be a nicer finish. So that's the plan. So I'm gonna, annoyingly, I've moved my table saw into my new workshop, but it's got no electrics in the minute, so I'm gonna have to whip that back out, hook it up, make the cut, and then see how we fare.
I love my DeWalt table saw. Absolutely love it. Straight out of the box, it's bob on to the mill, to the micro mill. I'm not sure what I'd do without it now. It's perfect for this job. So now we're at glue up stage for the replacement piece. Just using my glue bot, which I think has got a bit of a clog in it actually. That's why looks like I'm struggling a little bit here, which is a bit of a nuisance. Um, but yeah, just uh, really gluing the side of the I think it's rosewood that I was using actually. The label was removed, so I'm not totally sure which one it was, whether it's rosewood or pine. But yeah, a nice even spread of glue for this glue up, and then get some big F clamps, and I've got to put another board at the back here, just for because of the molding, like on the top of the lid, it was difficult for the clamps to grasp. So I thought I'd just use help it along its way a little bit with a bit of support.
Right, so we're all glued up. I'm just going to give it a bit of probably just a bit of a sand on this one side, and then on this other side, it just needs a bit of a planing down. I did that kind of with intention, so you can see here it is, so I can get a nice level on it. So I'll run that through. I'll probably just use the hand planer, and then kind of down here, I'll need to kind of reroute this edge and this edge. So I'll do that. I'll plane it first, and then yeah, and then we'll see how it looks, and then just give everything a bit of a kind of a scuff sand, just tidy all this up, and then yeah, we'll see how we look. Right, so everything's kind of glued together. I'll kind of show you that, and it's had a good sanding now. The slight issue that I do have that is a bit of a shame, really, but the edge has been kind of routed, or 3/4 of it actually, not the back, has been routed with I think they're called a Roman OG router bit. So it looks a bit like that. However, this bit which I bought, it arrived yesterday from Amazon. This bit is it's too steep. So the bit that where I've filled, where I've kind of cut out and then replaced it with a new section, that needs kind of routing out. But I don't have a router bit that will match the same bit. And I mean, I could be. I'm not quite sure how to measure that. I know, well, I know you could probably just get some kind of I don't know whether it's some string and then measure that or whatever. But I don't know if there's a specific way of measuring that. If you know, then just pop a comment in. That'd be useful. Um, so rather than faffing around with some of that, I've decided just to 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 route it with one of these bits. It's wide enough. It should give me a new edge on all three sides. It would take away um, the original kind of routed edge, but whatever, I'm quite comfortable with that. Um, so yeah, it's the only one that I could find that is probably going to do the job. So it's half-inch bit. Um, so I'll have to get my Trend T8, I think it is, to do the job. But yeah, I'll show you kind of what I mean. So yeah, that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do next. So yeah, a bit of a shame, but no big deal. Yeah, so you can see it's had a good sanding. These are the drill bits, the router bits. Sorry, that I picked up from Amazon. And yeah, so this is the edge I have, and you can see this is the piece that needs kind of routing. And then if I just place this, you can see it's not quite going to do the job, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, it's because it's going to be running along this edge here. So yeah, so what I am going to do is this half-inch bit here, as you can see, so that'll create a new edge and clear out this piece here. So
this job was made
that's the plan.
considerably easier by the use of my MFT table. As you can see, got the hold down clamps in action there. Because of the size of the piece, the MFT table I think was better suited to this. I could have done it on another workbench, but it was really useful holding down the piece. And I'm using my Trend T8 here, which is a 1/4 inch plunge router. Again, really useful, really powerful. Don't know where I'd be without it these days, but it couldn't prevent me missing this bit.
So I'm a bit annoyed at myself. I didn't check here. There's a little notch in there which I needed to fill. I kind of, when I was working on this yesterday, I knew there was like a little notch in there. I was like, right, that needs to be filled before I route it. Didn't route it, and it's ended up like that. But hey ho, it is what it is. It's the rest of it's actually not too bad. It's pretty good up until that point. Yeah, a few burn marks, all right, fair enough, but it's going to be painted, so I'm not be fussed about that. Corners around here, pretty good. That's not too bad. So yeah, just a little bit annoyed, but I'm gonna feel that, and then maybe just wait for it to kind of go off, and then just maybe reroute that bit, possibly even just I might even just sand it down. Um, but yeah, it's not too bad. Kind of down here. That's all right. That's lovely down here. So yeah, a bit annoying, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So yeah, so I'm just going to fill this in, and then I think the plan is to I think I'm going to prime it, put a coat of primer on it,
So I'm
and
using
then it'll be time for
a
painting.
sculpting tool with some wood filler here. It looks fairly dark and the wrong sort of colour, but it's all going to be kind of primed and painted anyway, so it does the job. So I've moved on to priming the box now. Probably didn't need it, but I went with it anyway. I'm just using some spray primer. It's not the best of jobs, I know, before anybody comments. It was a bit windy, but it was good enough for this project.
Right, as you can see, it's had some primer. Don't judge me. Spray painting is not my forte. It looks a bit patchy, but probably didn't need priming, if I'm perfectly honest. But it will do. So, and yeah, there you go. You can see how patchy that is, but I'm not overly fussed. You know, by the time it's had a lick of paint and a couple of coats, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. So I'm going to do the lid in this French chic. What's it called? It's called Smudge, which is like a kind of grey, charcoaly grey type colour. And then the rest of the box in this, what's it called? Steaming Green from French chic. I don't know whether I'm actually going to have enough paint. I don't know yet. We'll see how far I get. For the lid, I think I will. It won't be a problem. But for the rest of the box, we'll just see how many coats it needs. But I am going to do this lettering in the smudge colour, just so it stands out just a little bit more. So I'm going to use a roller. Well, not for the lettering, but I'm going to use a roller for the rest of the box and for the lid. So yeah, we'll get rollering and see what it looks like after. Cool. Right, it's had a lick of paint, first coat, main part of the box, and as you can see on the lettering as well. I'm not a painter, as you can see. certain spots needs touching up. But yeah, it's not looking too bad. Yeah, I still need to go over in a couple of spots, but I think I'm just going to get the wife to do that. It's not, I don't particularly enjoy painting, but yeah, it's not looking too bad. And then we've got the lid over here, which I think another lick of paint on that, another coat, and I think it'd just be ready to get the lid back on. Found the hinges the other day, so that's all good. I thought I'd lost them. So yeah, looking good. Okay, so another few coats of paint. I'll admit that wasn't me, that was the wife. She's just a better painter than me. But yeah, I don't think it looks too bad. The lid's all done. And it's not too bad. Just around here. And then put the hinges on. They're not looking too bad. But yeah, so just chuck this on, probably Facebook Marketplace if I'm perfectly honest, and see what it sells for. But yeah, pretty pleased. Right, okay, we're all done for this one. Pretty pleased with it. A couple of obviously some mistakes, obviously with routing the edge. That was a bit frustrating, but you know, lesson learned. Just check the edge first before you do any routing. But you know, things happen. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So yeah, so hopefully you've kind of enjoyed this one. Like I said earlier, you know, I do enjoy the restoration work. It's I don't know, it just bringing something kind of back to life and giving it a new life is something I find really, I don't know, kind of refreshing and enjoyable. So yeah, hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.